use the Force.
Hey everybody, wow, what a difference this camera has actually made. I obviously didn't know how good the quality was going to be until after I'd edited that first video, and I was just like, oh my god, it's amazing. And yes, I know it was a little dark in places, but unfortunately it was night time. You'd be amazed how dark it actually was at that point, and the camera was just doing fine. One thing I do need to say, as I said in the last video, is the discount code's there to get you 10% off, which is I am spicy, and you can use it on pretty much anything on the website. However, you can't use it against something that's already under an offer. It's quite normal, it's how they work with most sites. Although I do believe that it's working with, at the moment they're doing a Drift Ghost with a free battery. I believe it does work with that. As I say, I've checked with action cameras, it is working. It doesn't have to be uppercase or lowercase, I am spicy. So if it hasn't worked, so I had a couple of comments saying it doesn't seem to work, it's because whatever you've tried to purchase it with is already under an offer, most likely. Right, now, so what are we going to talk about today? The fucking drill bit in the road. In fact, I might try not to die doing this. Before that ends up in someone's fucking tyre, let's chuck it over there. Karma, karma, come on karma. So today, everyone knows it's the 11th of September. We all know what happened back in 2001. Although I say that, I have met a couple of people in my lifetime who didn't know anything about it. And that really shocked me. Yes, I know, you all now sat there open mouthed going, what, they didn't know about 9/11 yet? Yeah. Who knew? It was 12 years ago today. 12 years! I remember coming home from school and watching, the first plane had already hit, but it was only very shortly after that I got the telly on. And I'm sat there watching it and I remember saying to my mum, Mum, there's this skyscraper's on fire in America. And then the next thing you know, second plane comes in. And even at that age, I mean, I'm trying to think how old I was. It was 12 years ago and I'm now 20. No, I was 15. Now work out how far it took me to work that one out. I was 15 years old, and at the time, I absolutely knew what that meant. Accidents like that don't happen twice. But what I didn't know at the time is what sort of it would do in the world in years to come, what influence that one moment would have. Now, what I do want to say is that we should never forget that thousands upon thousands of innocent people died in that attack. And that should never be forgotten. What the media portrayed on that day really isn't what happened. Now, obviously with conspiracy stories, and I've done a video on conspiracies before now where I did talk about 9/11 to a little bit, and road resurfacing, 1st of September, okay, you're just going to gravel the shit out of the roads then. Great. The thing with conspiracy theories is anyone can write one. Now, obviously there are some conspiracies about 9/11 which just, aren't true. Like them suggesting the plane was holographic. We don't have that technology. And that clouds the water a bit. Because if you watch the factual information about what happened on that day, thanks for that, you'll know that something's up, something isn't right. The Pentagon, to me, is more of the one that really sings out as, this is wrong, something that they say happened, and it's all what they say happened through the media, is not what happened. The evidence is out there if you really wish to look into it. Obviously you're going to have to dig through a minefield, but the few points I'm going to point out about, so for instance the Pentagon, is the fact that a huge jetliner apparently crashed into the side of it, making only a 16-foot hole. It then burnt hot enough to completely incinerate the entire plane, even though the maximum temperature that kerosene can burn at isn't hot enough to melt the internal cores of the 4 huge Rolls-Royce engine, or 2 huge Rolls-Royce engines, which weren't found at the scene. What was found at the scene, however, was a smaller engine, which at first they thought was an engine that comes out the tail of one of these planes, but it wasn't. It was from an old military jet. You know, not to mention the fact, obviously, that all the grass around the area wasn't burnt. It was not a plane crash site. You could tell it wasn't. Yet the media will not say anything other than what they're told to say. Everything they reported on it was just so much shit. It just wasn't true. It can't be true. And if there's one element of doubt in it, then you have to start questioning everything else. And then you start looking at 9/11 and you start looking at the way that the buildings fell down and the fact that they were designed to take that sort of a hit, and they were designed to be able to catch fire in that way. And you watch the videos and you can see molten metal pouring out the corners exactly where it drops. Now, there's been a lot of talk about nanothermite being found, and there's suggestions that the building was laced with it, so when it did catch fire, it cut all the supporting beams and dropped the thing. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail about all of this because, you know, I don't want to make this into a 9/11 conspiracy video, although it probably already is by now. You then have to think about it. Now, okay, so say it was a terrorist attack. What happened was horrific. But how much worse is it if you believe, and I'm not saying you have to accept that this is what happened, I'm just saying, you know, just imagine this was the scenario. How much worse would it have been had the government done it? That is truly, truly horrific. That is unbelievable. I do feel like I'm alive at a very, very interesting time, because things have not been right in government. Things have been going on that have been covered up. And I'm not talking about UFOs, I'm talking about the reasons things happened, the motives. The reasons that First and Second World War started were not probably for the reasons you thought they did. Did you know it was to do with the train line? Did you know it was to do with Britain losing a lot of money? Look into it. This is what I mean about learning stuff. You'll learn, when you start looking into these things, you're just like, shit, this is stuff I didn't know, I can't believe this. Now, of course, you're going to come across stuff that you're going to be like, I'm not so sure about this. And you shouldn't just believe everything you see from anyone, not from the media, not from anyone, but you look at the evidence, look at what people have put together, and start making your own mind up. And that's what I did, and that's why I don't know exactly what happened. But what I do know is that it didn't happen the way that they're trying to tell us it happened. And that is slightly worrying. Then you have to start questioning what other governments are doing. There's a lot of talk about the 7/7 bombings not actually being quite what they were supposed to be. It was maybe more to get us incorporated into the war because we were like, well, that was in America, we don't really care in America, and then boom, oh, this is in England. A few bits that I've stated are really the tip of the iceberg. If you really look into it, there's so many reasons things don't add up, and that's the thing. If a truthful situation is told to you as it happens, everything should, lace up and everything should make sense. But it doesn't. Things jar, and when one thing jars, that throws everything else out, because if that's not right, well then you can't be sure that anything else is right. Now, as I say, I don't want people to ignore or forget the fact that a lot of people, innocent people, did die that day. That fact is a fact. I can understand the unwillingness to not want to think that the government did it, because, as I say, that makes it so much worse. That security that they had, that sort of backbone of I'm proud of my country will help me out. If they then find out that their country, for monetary and power gain, is killing thousands of innocent people and then completely making up a story and blaming other people, that's terrible. It's like so much worse. It's like, no, I can't comprehend that has happened. But as I say, I really do believe that 9/11 it was a huge beginning of awakening for people. I mean, that we've always talked about, conspiracy theories and stuff in the past, but in the past few years, with the power of the internet, because remember, before the internet, like around World War I, World War II, no one had the internet. They couldn't communicate with each other, and the information that they got was from the government through the radios and stuff. And you look at Egypt, when things were going down in Egypt, they were cutting the internet out as much as they could. They didn't want people to know what was going on in Egypt. They didn't want the people of Egypt to be able to tell people. And that's when Anonymous got involved. And this is sort of what I'm talking about, the big awakening. Anonymous has grown and is now standing up for true rights. And the reason I'm making this video today, I know it's 12 years on and people maybe think, oh, it's old news. It's really not, because it is the biggest example and the clearest example of things not being quite as they want us to believe. And if, as I say, if one thing isn't right in the story, it throws a lot of things out. Now, if you learn that the news has been misreporting things because either they're told to or that's what they believe, because that's the information that's been given to them, then you have to start questioning how everything's reported. Nowadays, with the internet, everyone can communicate. We are able to communicate worldwide in seconds, and no one can, you know, an individual person can put out a piece of video and it could change everything. The internet will come, it will have its part in true sort of more freedoms, and in fact maybe world peace, because people will come together across countries to stand up for what they believe is right and wrong. Now, as I've said many times before, everything I say in my videos is my opinion. I get to my opinion not through jump decision and reading one newspaper article or something. I get to my sort of, you know, my opinions on things by doing in-depth research, by looking at the raw evidence. You just have to make the decision for yourself using logical thought. And I really do believe that you should do things that way rather than just believing what you hear on the news. Look into it a bit, because you'll quite often find that things aren't nearly the way you think they are. But anyway, I'll catch you next time, and I promise next time we'll have lighter things to talk about. I'm now working with actioncameras.co.uk, which is a company which I use to buy all my bits from anyway. And the best bit for you lot is I now have a discount code for you, which is going to be on the screen now. And they sell all of the bits and pieces you'll need to motovlog, because I know a lot of people say to me, I'm looking into motovlogging.